So I saw this clip today, this story out of, I believe, Lubbock, Texas, that really got to me. And, we live in this world where we're all inundated by media, mass media, constant, constant information in our face, whether it's useful or not. We're just inundated with information. So it's hard to focus in on one thing and to pay attention to the details and to pay attention to how the details apply to your own life. And I saw this video today that I clicked on, and it was this father being shot by the boyfriend of the father's ex-wife. And I don't know the stories of these people. I don't want to attach a story to any one of them. I could impose or project a story onto them. But just looking at what I witnessed and really talking about what it brought out in my body is where my attention was. You know, I saw a man who was angry because he wanted to see his son at 3:15, and I can empathize with being a father who has wanted to see my children, my daughters, and who never wanted to be away from them and never wanted to negotiate time to have them in a position where they're having to consider time between mom and dad. So I saw a father who was angry. I saw the ex-wife who was the mother of the son nearby. I saw the boyfriend. I saw the confrontation. And I saw a man get shot twice in the chest who was unarmed and had not been threatening physically. I saw a man get gun. I saw a man get shot twice, gunned down, and I saw people who seemed more interested in recording it and being an observer to it than to actually doing anything in the moment. No one rushed to this guy's aid. He was gunned down and he just laid there on the porch. And everyone just stood there. And the guy who shot him just stood there and defended himself. And everyone just kept recording from multiple angles. And what I just sat with today was that this video just brought up emotions in me, and it brought up empathy in me. And I thought of this little boy that they're all fighting over, and now he doesn't have a father, and now the mother has a boyfriend that just shot the boy's father, and regardless of the circumstances, that's no good. That's terrible. It's horrible. And this is just one little tiny story amidst millions of stories acting themselves out, and how can we pay attention to it all? We can't. And we're just inundated with the perception of threat, and it makes people feel anxious. People are overwhelmed with anxiety and fear, and a perception of powerlessness. And when people feel fearful and powerless, they're willing to give up their power to authorities that promise to make it all better, authorities that promise to keep us safe. We're willing to subjugate and take away other people's freedom, other people's perceptions, other people's realities, in order to ensure our perception of what is right or what is safe. And I witnessed something in this video that was just so sad and so personal and so raw and honest. And what I came away with after I really just sat with it for a long time, several hours, and just noticed how it was acting out in my own life, noticed how it was bringing up injury in my own life, and noticing that place of pain within me, and recognizing that these are two men that didn't have the ability to look each other in the eyes and just work through the moment together, to work through their pain together. You know, imagine if the father could have looked at this boyfriend and said, "Hey, man, do you recognize I've lost everything I love? Regardless of how I lost it, I've lost everything I loved. And now I have to see my son, who is everything to me, on a schedule when I'm allowed to see him. All I want to do is see him at 3:15 and he's not here. Can you understand why I'm in pain? Can you understand why I'm in anger?" And could you imagine the boyfriend looking at that man and saying, "You know what? I'm going to help you resolve this. We're going to work proactively together to make this right. I hear your pain." Could you imagine if the mother that was standing nearby on her phone could say, "Okay, I can take responsibility for having him here at the right time"? I don't know the circumstances of these people, but I do know that this entire scenario is generational trauma acting itself out. And what I see is we're all acting out generational trauma. We're all projecting our fears and our stories onto each other. And there's a lot of adult children walking around who are very injured and who have never been given the opportunity, or maybe have never had wise elders around them to show them how to work through their pain and work through their anger and work through their sadness and their grief and their disagreements in a way that honors honesty and honors respect and honors love and honors the children. So I was just really struck by this today. It just really got me in the gut, and it really kind of acted itself out through me today. And I spent a lot of time just looking into it and noticing it and paying attention to what it was bringing up in me. And there was just multiple layers that came from it. But it was just a very sad scene to watch, this father clearly angry, clearly frustrated, clearly acting out, but not in an overboard way that couldn't be addressed with reasonable boundaries or reasonable assertiveness, reasonable reason. Again, just to look the guy in the eyes and say, "Hey, man, I get it. We're going to work on resolving this situation," not immediate resistance, threat. I'm just kind of looking into this moment, looking into where my mind is, looking into where my body is, looking into if there's anything more to be said about that. We don't need to consume ourselves. We don't need to implode. There's a lot of healing that needs to be done. We're not going to heal one another by threatening and denying and resisting and punishing people for trying to express their emotion punishing people for trying to express their pain, punishing people for trying to have a voice all around. Essentially, what we do, this is a very critical point, I think. What we do is we have started to criminalize the honest expression of anger in the form of masculine anger. Now, I'm not defending violence. I'm not defending acting out physical violence. I am saying that we have started to criminalize assertive or angry speech. You can pull someone into a fight, you can pull someone into an argument, you can resist someone or threaten someone, and then you can use that as justification to hurt them. That's the opposite of healthy masculinity. That's the opposite of healthy femininity. That's the opposite of healthy support or guidance, or what would be compassionate to our communities, to our neighbors and our friends. And when people are angry, it means they're injured. We tell people to shut up, keep it to themselves. You can't raise your voice. You can't stand your ground on a perspective, or it's punished somehow. I do think we're at a time when it's critical for people to transcend their ideologies and their tribes, to transcend, to recognize that falling into a side, that falling into a tribe, that allowing yourself to be an expression of a certain type of power structure that doesn't have individuals' best interests in mind, the best interests of people, of individuals, of families. So I think it's critical that we're honest with one another. I think it's critical that we, instead of judging and punishing and minimizing, denying people's voices, people's perspectives, to be really curious about how they arrived at their perspective, to be really curious about how their ideas and beliefs and perspectives relate to the sensations in their body and the emotional stories that have been told over the course of their lives, and to also look at your own life and to see how the stories and the ideas and the beliefs and the structures in your mind relate to your emotions and your attachments and the stories you have been told, and to recognize how these things may separate us and how these things are part of stories that have been told for a very long time that people become a part of, and we become a party to, and we become attached to, and we become objects of. That's what people think of as the matrix. That's what people think of as being lost in a perspective and an ego within that perspective, rather than stepping outside of it and seeing it for what it is. And perhaps choosing to express yourself from a place of love, which would be from a place of Christ within, a place of love, a place of honesty, a place of responsibility, a place of humility, a place of service. That's all I got. That was my thought tonight. Maybe something will come up later. Good night.